Welcome to the From Burnout to Recovery show with your host, Dr. Kate. This is where your journey to burnout recovery starts. Are you feeling overwhelmed or like work has become unmanageable? Join me and my guests for open and honest conversations about burnout recovery from the comfort of the front porch. I am here to help you build your resilience and prepare you for burnout in a whole new way through a variety of perspectives. Move past the idea that burnout can only be addressed by avoidance and work to integrate recovery into your daily life. Relax, take a breath. The From Burnout to Recovery show starts now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the From Burnout to Recovery show with Dr. Kate on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Kate, and I'm excited to welcome you to the show today. As you are enjoying the show, please remember to hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Today, we are going to be joined by our guest, Louise Valentine. She is an award-winning wellness expert, physiologist, best-selling author, competitive runner, and fierce military spouse. Regardless of where the Army sends her family, Louise is dedicated to empowering others to live a vibrant, high-performance life. She has worked with the NFL, published research studying the health resiliency on the U.S. military, and has designed science-based wellness solutions for individuals, school systems, communities, and companies throughout the United States. When Louise got back her own diagnosis, she was grateful to have the skill set to turn her breakdowns into breakthroughs, successfully reversing her hormonal health, osteoporosis, and precancer. Louise is now the CEO of Breaking Through Wellness, where she runs the groundbreaking Badass Breakthrough Women's Health and Running Academy. She coaches women runners, busy parents, and athletes to unlock optimal health potential and mind-body resilience without overcomplicating it. Louise, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for our conversation today. But to get us started, if you would just tell us a little bit more about yourself, kind of your experience with burnout and your journey to recovery.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was never very athletic. I was chronically ill. I had a lot of anxiety, and that motivated me at a really young age to start to study exercise science, human physiology, and kind of explore how I could be my most healthy and highest performing self. And, I sprinted out the gates of undergrad. I worked for the NFL at a younger age, and I learned, how to apply the science at a very elite level. I went on to earn my master's in health, studied women's health, and really became an expert in the field of health and wellness. And I also was a military spouse. Mm-hmm. So my husband was deploying. I was a new mom with a brand new baby. And I also had a 3-year-old. I was writing a master's thesis. And I was also qualifying and running for the Boston Marathon. So
just a few things happening there all at once.
So even though I was a health nut, I ate super well, I just reached that stress tipping point with my body, and I was going. And I thought I was superhuman because I knew how to navigate wellness, but I burned out. I showed up at the start line of the Boston Marathon exhausted. Mm-hmm. I didn't even have the energy to run. I wasn't sleeping, and my husband was still away at the time. And I had a huge moment in my life where I actually wasn't able to train anymore. Mm-hmm. The one thing I loved doing, running, I couldn't do because my body had just been so exhausted. Mm-hmm. So it really became this exercise in realizing that, yes, you can have all the knowledge in the world, and you can train right and you can eat right. But if you're not navigating your body's stress response, knowing how to work with your physiology and not against it, it is a slippery slope. Mm-hmm. And for myself, that was my first experience with burnout. And, luckily I got support right away, but it's like, wow, I was knocked off my expert high horse.
Yes. Yeah, I've been there. Right. And I think a lot of us, I know my real experience with burnout, same kind of thing, had been, essentially a lifetime researcher of wellness and burnout, and didn't realize that it was happening in my own life. And so I think that is true for so many of us, when, when we're high achievers in that aspect. And so what were some of the first things that, I mean, you definitely came to that place where that exhaustion like hit you full force. What were some of the pieces that you added into your life immediately, that support that you were talking about?
I always say that I like to assemble my healthcare army. And I think that, through the years of, getting support when I was not feeling well, getting support with therapists when I was trying to manage my anxiety, knowing the benefit of that and how it had helped me previously, I knew that, yes, I might have knowledge and skills, but right now I don't have the energy to apply them. I don't have the energy to design my own plans of how I'm going to come back from this exercise situation I'm in. So I ended up working with a like wellness and nutrition supports. I had a coach who helped me. He was like, you shouldn't run right now. And I was like, well, what? I don't know life without running. And so just navigating that line, and then having my background in physiology, working with my providers too. So saying, I think because I want to go back to running, I would like you to draw these labs because I think there's benefits to them. So I had my, general practitioners, functional medicine, actual sports application. And I assembled myself an army to figure out how I could come back as quickly as possible.
Yeah. I love that idea of, the kind of the getting back to the happiest, healthiest life by assembling that army of people that are there to support you in that aspect. You talked a little bit about, regulating and being in tune with our stress response, which is something that I talk about. I think it's incredibly important. A lot of people don't realize that we have to regulate our stress response because we now respond to even like that annoying email feels the same as like a tiger chasing us. And since the email isn't life or death, like how do we, begin to tune into that and manage that a little bit better?
Yeah. I actually, through my different comeback journeys from health diagnoses and burnout, and then working in a lot of the research and practical side of it, I have developed a 4-step routine that I help individuals go through. And it's shifting our mind, shifting our body, which is super quick, and then superpowering our mind and superpowering our body. And I have plug and play strategies that work in that because it's so individualized for people. Because if I say, okay, you recognize it's going to be a really high stress work week. We're going to wake up every day and take one deep breath and have like a go-to phrase, a mantra that's going to decrease the stress response. You're going to show up in the world the way you want to show up and take that one small step in the right direction. Well, what if that person's not a morning person, right? What if like they're just trying to survive, like getting the kids to school? So, you can have all these, you can have the cookie cutter approaches, but that's where I do the plug and play strategy in my framework, because what works for one person does not work for another. Right.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's one of the reasons why I even started this show and had, was bringing on different people and like you with different perspectives, because everyone approaches it a little bit differently. And that's something that I absolutely love hearing about, and I think the audience really connects to, because they're like, oh, well, maybe I don't connect to it in that way, but I could incorporate it into my life in like an evening practice. Maybe I take a deep breath before I go to bed.
Yeah. Or I have someone who, just having trouble with that, like do it at the dinner table before you eat. And by the way, that helps your body absorb food better. And it brings, if you have everyone in the family do it, it's like a wellness habit that you have this beautiful ripple effect in your family's well-being too. So there's different ways to make it work.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So the four framework, so it's kind of, say it one more time for me.
So the context of it is what we do and what we say to ourselves when it gets hard matters.
Awesome.
So how you define hard can be different. It could be, for some of the runners I work with, it could be a tight muscle. So we would take that approach from looking at the context of their race and the different things they'll do to shift their body. And then there could also be the context of it's a high stress work week.
Yeah.
So recognizing it's going to get hard and having just this simple approach that you can take. So on the physiological level, you're not super stressed. Your body's not fighting you. Cortisol isn't through the roof.
Yeah.
And, I have individuals who are trying to lose weight, or they're trying to PR their marathon, and they're training, they're doing all the right things. But if their body's stress isn't first and foremost controlled, they're not going to lose weight.
Right.
They're not going to have energy to train. They're going to feel like junk while they're training. So it's really taking this more very upstream approach. And the one thing I see is individuals taking the energy supplement, individuals taking the recovery supplement. We're trying to do all of these things and finding the solutions when really we didn't take the first step in just working with our body in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. What is something that you might tell someone? So say we have an audience member who's like, okay, I'm connecting to this. I understand, like, shift my body, shift my mind, and then superpower them in those aspects. But maybe they're not in that place of, maybe they're not quite as self-reflective or self-noticing as maybe you or I are. What are some things that they can start to do to either notice or help them in that reflection process?
Absolutely. So I think the big thing is understanding what the red flag signs and symptoms are from our body. So this is where I pull from some of the research, but for injury prevention, one of the things that can be an indicator of it is just a delayed time to falling asleep. So you start to notice these subtle cues from your body. Like maybe you're very short-tempered with your kids, or you're more emotional than normal. You feel upset and there's no reason really why, or you're having trouble falling asleep. There's all these little cues from our body. And it doesn't mean that, anything's terribly wrong. It's just, we need to have the skills to know what to do to support our body, to keep going strong. And so I think this understanding those first red signs of so upstream in the burnout or injury or the plateau process. But if we start there, we really can keep going strong. We have beautiful energy. Our health is vibrant.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So kind of that early noticing and just like tuning into your body and noticing those cues. I think that aspect of just like, are you falling asleep a little later than normal because it seems just a little bit harder, and just taking notice of those things.
Yeah. Our body is always giving us signs and signals, and it's just being able to know what they are. And then those quick little corrective actions, and it's a lot more smooth sailing journey.
What might be some of those quick corrective actions that you would first suggest to someone?
I work with a lot of individuals who really love to exercise. So sometimes we're so dedicated to what we have planned for the week. Maybe it's a really challenging workout. Sometimes we need to just take a step back and look at the week when we recognize, like, okay, we've had a really stressful event, or my body is just so exhausted today. Just having the skills to adjust and maybe substitute something lighter, like going for a walk, maybe doing like a really light cycling versus a crazy Peloton spin class. If we just do every single day hard, and we don't take that first step to just give our body a little bit of rest, we can crush our workout by the end of the week. But we've really got to take just a little bit of corrective action so that we can get to that workout in the first place.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So just taking that step back and maybe doing something a little more low key, if you will.
Yeah. And I actually learned that from just with my own health. When I did have health diagnoses that I didn't have a choice, right? I wanted to reverse my health diagnoses first and foremost, but I had always trained so strategically. Like I didn't miss a day of my training plan. But it wasn't until I started taking these small corrective actions that I became a competitive runner, that I qualified for a racing team, that I started crushing my time goals. And, we hear a lot of people say like, oh, prioritize sleep, or, oh, no one to take a rest day. But it's more than that. It really is.
Yeah. It can be really hard to consciously slow down when we are in such a go, go, go state.
Yeah. And I think that's where working with a coach can really help,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it gives you that sense of accountability and even just that check-in point. And I have found in working with like a coach in my own health and wellness journey and those pieces is that, my coach is also someone who helps me, she says, it's okay that you're like that this week is a more of a low energy week and that you're leaning into that. There is nothing
Yes.
wrong with that. And so I think just hearing that sometimes from an outside person can be so important. So, dear listeners, if you are having a tough time slowing down right now, you're not alone. No, it's okay. And it's probably one of the most productive things you can do for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a community that I have as a part of my running and women's health academy. And it is most days it's us like talking one another in this experience of, okay, you're just so frazzled and anxious too. And we're all here together. So what's one thing we're going to do right now? Like, let's come together and do it. Like, I'm the coach, but I love you guys for helping me too.
Right? Absolutely. Well, this has been such a great conversation. Louise, if you were to offer one additional piece of advice to our audience members, what would that be?
I would say what you do and what you say to yourself when it gets hard matters. And recognizing those subtle cues from your body and just taking one small step in the right direction. Do something that brings you joy. Take a deep breath. Just do one small thing to feel like the vibrant, energized, burnout free person that you want to be. And over time, those small steps and that small corrective action will start to add up.
Awesome. Yeah. So just take that one small step toward the direction you want to be in. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
I am so grateful for our guest, Louise Valentine, for coming in and sharing her perspective on burnout and some of the work that she does, both for herself and for her clients, and navigating that stress response and really that piece in regard to shifting your mind, shifting your body, and then superpowering yourself and implementing the things that work for you in small steps. And of course, audience members, you know that I'm a big fan of the micro step and what that can do for us. We're going to move into our recovery moment. And before we do, I would like to remind you to subscribe to the podcast and the show on YouTube, as well as leave a review, and be sure to share this with someone who also needs to hear this message. For our recovery moment today, we are going to focus on a breathing exercise that is actually going to help us when we are feeling stress. So it's right along with managing that stress response. Remember, I want you to be in a safe space when we do our recovery moment. And if that's not you right now, just listen, take it in, and then come back when you're able to fully participate in the guided reflection. As we move now into a recovery moment, I want you to find a safe and comfortable position. You kind of just allow yourself to sink in to that seat, that chair, wherever you're sitting right now. Take a nice, big, deep breath in through your nose and out. Today, we are going to focus on breathing for medium amounts of stress. We all get into stressful situations from time to time. So it's not about eliminating stress from our lives, but about how we manage it and react to it. When you encounter something that stresses you out to that medium amount, you need to manage the stress so it doesn't build into something more. That will disrupt your daily routine. Things that are medium stressors are like you have a deadline coming up sooner than you thought, and now you have to do it in a short amount of time, or you have a social dinner to attend, and you really don't want to see some of the people that will be there. You know that you are to blame if you procrastinate on a deadline, but if you let stress get the better of you, it distracts you from being able to focus. Also, if you really don't want to go to dinner with these people, but you have to, you can take steps to manage the stress so that you can get through the dinner without harming yourself from its ill effects of stress. When you're stressed, you cannot focus. So, on the other hand, when you focus, you cannot be stressed. So, let's focus on our breathing right now. Let's just take a nice big breath in and let it out. What does your breath feel like right now? Feel your belly expand and contract with your breath. Feel your chest gently rising and falling. Can you feel the air passing through your nose softly as you breathe? Notice every single detail about your breath that you can. Feel it filling all the different areas as you inhale. Is the air warm or cool? Good. Now let's take 3 deep breaths together and pay attention to how each breath feels. 1, breathing in as much as you can until you are brimming with air. Hold it for just a moment and exhale, allowing relaxation to come to you. 2, pulling air fully into your body, oxygenating yourself. Hold it and exhale, allowing you to become even more relaxed. 3, last one. So let's make it a really good one. Fully inhale, feeling that chest and belly expand. Hold it for just a moment and exhale, feeling so much more relaxed than when you started. Nice. You may notice that breathing with intention is a very powerful tool in changing your state of mind. If you need to relax even more, you can repeat these 3 powerful breaths at any time. Breathing deeply and fully is helpful in any situation, but especially during the more difficult times in our lives. Another wonderful tool that you can use when you are experiencing moderate stress is nature. Viewing nature is very relaxing and calming to every human. You can either go to a place where there are tall trees or nice grass. You can take a walk around your neighborhood or workplace and pay attention to the plants around you. Plants and trees do provide us with oxygen, after all, so we greatly need them. So when you find stress is beginning to build in you, take a walk or gaze out the window into nature. Be grateful for nature when you see it. Thank the nature in your mind for all the relaxation it brings to everyone around the world. If you cannot get to a place outdoors, you can simply imagine it. Let's imagine right now that we are in a beautiful garden. So if you haven't already done so, close your eyes. When you close your eyes, a wave of relaxation sweeps over you, and you see that you are in a beautiful garden. There's a soft and natural path through the garden that you begin to walk down. In this garden, there are so many exquisite plants producing the most beautiful flowers that you have ever seen. Take in the colors and the shapes of these beautiful, beautiful flowers. Look around at the trees around you. They're all thriving and tall. The trees sway in the wind with grace, back and forth, back and forth. You look down at the smaller shrubs and plants that are passing by as you walk along this path, and you can see their leaves of various kinds being caressed by the wind. Some leaves are waxy and reflect the sunlight, while others are soft and delicate. You take a deep breath in all this fresh air these plants produce for you, and you catch the aroma of a gorgeous flower. You look around to see which one is producing this fragrance and spot the most beautiful white flower you have ever seen. It is huge, almost the size of a dinner plate, and it smells sweeter than any rose. You get closer to this flower, and the fragrance is mesmerizing. You are right up next to this flower now, and you bend down to smell it even closer. When you inhale its beauty, the aroma of this flower heals you in all kinds of ways. The sweet smell eliminates stress in your mind and in your body. Inhale another deep breath in your nose. The aroma is healing your body. Any illnesses or ailments, take another breath of its beauty, and you feel it completely relax you and set you at ease. Good. You haven't felt this nice in a very long time. It's time to say goodbye to this flower and thank it for everything it gave you, and continue down the path through nature. It is beautiful here, and you feel safe. You can feel the gentle sun rays on your skin and how it brings you nutrients. Just enjoy being in your garden for a little while. Great. Now walk back along the path the way you came and say goodbye to all the beautiful nature you saw there. You can always come back to this place by simply remembering it and allowing the thought of nature to simply eliminate all of your stress. I'm going to count from 1 to 5 now, and with each word I say, you will become more and more aware of the present moment and ready to go about the rest of your day. 1, coming back now. 2, bringing back the memory of nature with you. 3, feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. 4, feeling stress-free and ready to achieve anything. And 5, welcome back and enjoy the rest of your day. Dear listeners, thank you so much for joining me on today's show. Remember that for more recovery moments, you can follow me at Dr. Kate Steiner on Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to the From Burnout to Recovery Show YouTube channel. I am so grateful to our guest, Louise Valentine, and I am grateful to each of you for listening. Thank you for joining us today on the From Burnout to Recovery Show with Dr. Kate on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Kate, and I wish you peace on your journey. Thank you for joining me on the front porch today. Remember that you can download your free guide on how to recover from burnout in just 2 hours a week on my website at drkatesteiner.com. And be well, my friends. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Kate, on the From Burnout to Recovery Show, where you are starting your journey to burnout recovery. You are invited to join me on the front porch every second and fourth Friday of the month on transformationtalkradio.com to continue growing in resilience and integrating recovery into your daily life. If you would like to learn more or find out how to work with me, visit liftwellnessconsulting.com.